All right, let's dive into one of the absolute cornerstones of Western literature, Virgil's Aeneid. But we're not just looking at this as some old story about a guy escaping a burning city. No, we're going to break down how this epic poem is a masterclass in crafting the story of one man's fated, and completely non-negotiable, mission to found the entire Roman race. Virgil, he doesn't mess around. He basically lays it all out for us right here in Book 1. He's telling us exactly where this whole journey is headed. This isn't just Aeneas' personal story. It's the origin story of Rome itself. It's an imperial destiny that was set in stone long before our hero even managed to get his ships in the water. So how are we going to tackle this? Well, here's our roadmap. First, we'll look at the divine command itself. Then, we'll get into Aeneas' personal struggle with that command. We'll see the exact moment his mission finally becomes real to him, witness the brutal cost of that destiny, and then we'll tie it all back to the real-world politics of Emperor Augustus, the guy Virgil was writing for. Okay, first things first. The most important thing to get your head around is that Aeneas has zero choice in any of this. From the very first lines of the poem, his path isn't an adventure he chooses, it's a divine command he must obey. This isn't a quest for personal glory, it's about fulfilling a pre-written fate. What's so amazing here is how Virgil just takes all the suspense about the final outcome right off the table. So when Aeneas' mom, the goddess Venus, is worried about his fate, Jupiter himself just lays it all out. He promises her, "Don't worry, your son's descendants are secure. I've given them an empire that knows no end." And as the scholar R.D. Williams points out, this speech just immediately injects a powerful patriotic vibe into the whole epic. The endgame is guaranteed from page 1. So, the divine plan is actually pretty straightforward, kind of like a three-step blueprint for an empire. First, Aeneas has to fight a war in Italy and found the city of Lavinium. Then, his son Aeneas will go on to found Alba Longa. And then, generations down the line, out of that city, Romulus will emerge to build the high walls of Rome. It's a direct, unbroken, and totally fated line from the ashes of Troy straight to the heart of the Roman Empire. But, and this is a huge but, this divine mission isn't some walk in the park. For Aeneas the man, it becomes this immense, crushing personal burden. He is constantly being forced to choose between his duty to the future of Rome and his own personal happiness. To really get Aeneas, you've got to understand this fundamental shift in what it even means to be a hero. The Homeric heroes from the Iliad, they fought for personal glory, for kleos. And we see a flash of that old-school hero in Book 2, when Aeneas sees Troy burning and thinks, yeah, it's a noble thing to die in arms. But he can't be that guy. He has to evolve into the new Roman hero. Someone defined not by what they win for themselves, but by their pietas, their sense of duty to something way, way bigger than them.
And that word, pietas, it's the absolute key to everything. It's this core Roman value of unwavering duty. It's not just about being pious or religious in our sense of the word. It's a profound devotion to your family, to the gods, and most crucially for Aeneas, to the future of your country. This single virtue drives all of his most painful choices.
And believe me, there is no choice more painful than leaving Dido and Carthage. The whole episode in Book 4 is the ultimate test of his pietas. Virgil tells us Aeneas was faithful to his duty, even while his heart was shaken by his great love. It's the shattering of a great love, and it's the price of founding an empire. He literally has to sacrifice his own happiness for the destiny of a people not yet born.
And what's so powerful is that Aeneas knows he's not the one in the driver's seat. His defense to Dido is just heartbreakingly simple. It is not by my own will that I search for Italy. He's just an instrument of a much bigger plan. He's literally starting to lay the foundations for a new life in Carthage when Mercury, sent by Jupiter, shows up and the divine command hits him like a thunderbolt. He has to go. It's not a choice. So, after making this gut-wrenching personal sacrifice, Aeneas is given a reward. And it's not gold, it's not power, it's something way more important. It's understanding. He is finally granted a vision of exactly why all his suffering matters, and it changes absolutely everything for him. The journey down into the underworld in Book 6 is, without a doubt, the turning point of the entire Aeneid. Before this, Aeneas is basically just following orders, and a lot of the time he's doing it reluctantly. But down in Elysium, the land of the blessed, he meets the ghost of his father, Anchises, and this abstract mission he's been on is about to become a vivid, tangible reality.
Anchises doesn't just give him a history lesson, no way. He puts on this incredible spectacle, a parade of Roman heroes. He shows Aeneas all the souls who are just waiting to be born into the great nation he's destined to found. He sees Romulus, the great kings of Rome, Julius Caesar, and even Virgil's own boss, Augustus Caesar. For the very first time, Aeneas is actually seeing the faces of the empire he's been fighting and suffering for.
And this line right here, this is the light bulb moment. Virgil tells us this vision kindled in his mind a love for the glory that was to come. Think about that. He's no longer just a guy obeying fate. He's now a man who is actively inspired by it, filled with genuine love for the future he's meant to create. His entire mindset has been transformed.
But of course, that glorious vision comes with a price tag. So now we pivot to the second half of the epic, where the beautiful dream of Rome has to be forged in the harsh, ugly reality of war. The promised land isn't just going to be given to him, it has to be taken by force.
And here, Virgil gives Aeneas something tangible, a physical reminder of his destiny. In Book 8, his mother Venus gets the god Vulcan to forge him this magnificent shield. And just like the vision in the underworld, this shield isn't just for defense, it's a prophecy forged in metal showing all the future triumphs of Rome. It's a tool that gives him the strength to face the deadly wars he knows are coming.
And believe me, this war is absolutely brutal. The Sibyl's prophecy comes true. He has to face Turnus, who is basically a second Achilles. His old enemy, the goddess Juno, unleashes the forces of hell itself just to slow him down. Aeneas is forced to become a hardened, decisive commander. And sometimes his rage, his furor, gets the best of him. Even when he tries to make peace in Book 11, fate and the actions of others just keep dragging him back to the battlefield. Destiny, it turns out, has to be paid for in blood. So this all leads us to the big question, right? Why was this epic, with its intense focus on a divinely ordered, hard-won empire, written at this specific moment in history? Well, the answer lies in Virgil's own time, the brand new age of peace that was established by the Emperor Augustus.
Modern scholars see the Aeneid as being deeply, deeply tied to Augustan politics. For example, Sabine Grebe argues that by making Aeneas' mission a divine command, Virgil is basically validating Augustus' own role as being approved by the gods. Kimberly Bell sees Aeneas as this crucial cultural bridge, carrying the greatness of old Troy over to found the new culture of Rome. And Graham Zanker suggests the whole epic is a kind of moral instruction manual for a good ruler.
And look, this connection to Augustus isn't some subtle hint you have to dig for. It's totally explicit. Remember Jupiter's big prophecy way back in Book 1? He specifically promised a Trojan Caesar who would finally bring peace to the world. That's a direct shout-out to Augustus, who ended a century of brutal civil wars and established the Pax Augusta, the Roman peace. The poem frames Augustus not as some new political development, but as the ultimate fulfillment of a destiny set in motion 1,000 years before. But here's the thing, it's not just about celebrating raw power. The moral heart of the poem's political message is Anchises' final command to Aeneas in Book 6. He tells him to remember the unique Roman mission, to impose peace, yes, but also to spare the conquered and to battle down the proud. In other words, you have to rule with both power and with mercy. That's the heavy responsibility that comes with having an empire.
And that leaves us with one last, really thought-provoking question, which scholar Graham Zanker gets us to think about. Was that command to rule with justice and clemency really just for the mythical hero Aeneas? Or was it maybe Virgil's own way of offering a timeless piece of advice, a kind of moral reminder, to his own very real, very powerful patron, the Emperor Augustus, about the true duties of a Roman ruler?